This is Web Dev Journey, and welcome back to a bootleg copy of the Avengers Endgame in Blu-ray, if I might add. And today we're going to be talking about a different app that we're going to be creating. So we already finished with our bucket list application. We ended on configuring Webpack with Sass, working with Sass, and that is it. That's basically all there is to that one app. Like that was just for the beginners. And just to get you comfortable with React. Now we're going to get a little bit more advanced. I'm not going to say extremely advanced, but a little bit more advanced. In this application, we're going to actually be creating a Budget Snob application. Meaning, it's not a snob like the way you think of snob. I don't know if most people think of it this way now. But a snob is basically a person that takes pride of that something. So I'm a coffee snob. I do love coffee, and I don't like going to Starbucks or my Mac Cafe because, well, they're not as good. I'd rather just get it from my local roastery and blend it myself. Not blend it, grind it myself. You know, I take pride in that stuff. I take pride in my coffee. Well, you're gonna take pride in your budget, I guess, for this application. So that's why we call it a Budget Snob. You can look up snob if you want. I just told you a somewhat definition of it. Anyways, back to the topic. Yeah, we're going to be creating a Budget Snob application where we're going to actually incorporate databases, routes, actually a navigation, so that way we could actually go to our dashboard, to our creating a new budget or a new expense, going to the help page, to the edit page. So we're going to create different routes with that, and that's going to be a little bit more advanced, going with React. So the first thing I do want to talk to you about is that I did create a boilerplate right here. It's not right here, but this is a new boilerplate. And if you actually go to my GitHub React boilerplate, there it is right there. You could just clone it, fork it, whatever you want to do. But this is a boilerplate of what we've done before in our bucket list app. I just stripped out everything, as you can see. So in source, we don't have no more components. We only have styles, which is just my base styles. I did not talk about how to do styles because that's not what this video is about. It's just React. But if you want to learn more about styles, or like how to actually the architecture of styles, I guess, or doing CSS, you can look up BEM, block element modifiers. It'll tell you it's a great resource to actually show you how to actually. It's just a naming convention, I guess you could say. Yeah, it's just naming convention, how to be organized about your CSS, because you could get all whacked about it. But yeah, look up BEM CSS on Google, and then you'll find out right there. But yeah, I stripped out everything. Nothing's dealing with bucket list app no more. I just stripped it out. Our app.js. I only have a p tag rendering right there. Like I said, nothing is. This is just a stripped boilerplate of React, of what we've done before. So with that out of the way, we're going to actually talk about React Router. I'm pretty sure you heard of the term. Is actually a component or a module that we're going to be downloading and using in this application. So you could actually, let me get out of this one. You could actually go to their GitHub, just type in React Router and look for the GitHub link right here. And this one doesn't really give us the actual docs on this. Doesn't really give us what to do or what. There's just links to where to go. But what we're looking at is the URL up above. This is actually a training. And there's two types of things. There's two types of routers. The web or React has routers, right? Two types of React router. You have the web and native. Native is mostly for mobile applications, and the web obviously for the web. We're going to be using the web, although you could explore and do native if you want. So we're going to just click on web because that's what we're going to be doing. So we need to install this module, which is React Router DOM. Now, if you just install React Router, it's going to install everything from web and native. So you could be using both of them at the same time. But I don't want that because that's a big file. And I don't want big files in my thing since I'm only doing web. So I'm just going to install React Router DOM, which is just web. Just web. That's it. So let's do that right now. Up here or down there, terminal, new terminal. Yarn add React router DOM. Let's add that, and we should see it in our package JSON. There it is right there. All right, now let's go to our app JS, and we're gonna import stuff from that module. Okay, so up above, what I'm going to do up above right here, import. There's gonna be multiple things that you could import. So I'm gonna do brackets for now from react router DOM. So you might be wondering, what is the things that we're going to be importing? Well, if you go back to the web down below in our API section, you have components. Like we have our components and we exported them. Well, they're exporting components that we could use. They have browse router, hash router, link, nav link, all these different type of components that we could be using. For the most part, we're going to be using browser router and also route. Okay, and as you can see right here, they have a quick example of how to actually use it. So you could read it if you want, but I'm pretty sure people do not like reading. They just like watching videos. So right here, we're going to be grabbing browser router from that and route. Okay, control save for now anyways. So what browser router does is it uses the HTML5 history API, you know, such things like push state, replace state, and pop state, those events. It uses those so that way it could keep track of our UI with the URL, like what needs to be rendered with the URL, right? It needs to keep track of those stuff. So that's what we need, the browser router. That's just the parent component. Now the route, we use route to actually tell React, hey, I want you to render this component when they hit this route, this URL, okay? So those are the different kind of things, but route is actually a child of browser router. Like I said, browser router needs to know exactly what's going on with the routes, with the URLs, and route is in charge of the URLs and displaying the proper components. You'll see in a bit what's going on, okay, after we start getting into it, but I just want you to know what browser router does and what route does. So let's actually explore a little bit on browser router and route down below. So down below, I'm going to create a const, and we're going to name it routes for now. And so what this does, what we're going to do in here, not this does. What we're going to do in here is create an instance of browser router, just like that. Like I said, this is the parent for all our routes because this is in charge of knowing what the history is for the routes, right? So we just need one parent or one instance of browser router, and we could create multiple routes inside of this. Now, one thing to take note is that browser router actually has a maximum length. So it actually looks like if there's a length of 1, if there's 1 children or no children in browser router, it's okay. But if there's multiple children inside browser router, it's going to break. So the way we get around that is actually creating one child, a div, and inside this div, we're going to create multiple routes. So this is still considered a one child because div is literally one child of browser router. Now we can have multiple childs inside of div. So what we're going to do in here is create a route in here, and we don't need this closing. We could just do self-closing right here. Now, route takes in 2 attributes. The first one is path. What do we want the path to be? And the second one is component. What component should we render once the path is met? So for the path, we're going to say for right now, path, we're going to say for right now, we're going to make it equal to /, which is the home page, okay? And for the component, we don't have a component, obviously. So up above, I am going to create a stateless component. So const budget snob home or dashboard. I'm going to name it dashboard later on. And we're going to set that to an arrow function of a component. And this one is going to have a one div /div. Okay, and here we're gonna just say Budget Snob Home. And the component we want to render is Budget Snob Home, which is going to equal Budget Snob Home. And in here, instead of rendering the P tag, we're going to render routes. Control save this. Now let's do yarn run dev dash server. And we have a success build, no errors. All right, control click on this URL. And here's our thing right here. Now we have Budget Snob Home rendering out. Let me actually do it this way. Like old times. All right. And we have two carrots right here. That's why I have that other carrot. I was like, where is that other carrot? Right here. Now if you control save this, we should get another thing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now that we have route, let's create another route for, I don't know, adding an expense. So we're gonna do the same exact thing, route. Getting rid of this, self-closing. Our path is going to be / add, and then add expense, do whatever you want. We're gonna rename these later on in the video, so I'm just doing add right now. And our component, I do need to create another component, but our component is going to be budget add. So I'm literally gonna copy this, paste another one down below. I'm gonna switch this to budget add, and then budget snob add. Control save. All right. I'm getting this again. All right. Now, if you try to go to hey / add, what do we get? Cannot get / add. And the reason why we're getting this error is because we're using, I don't know if you know this, but React router uses client-side rendering. We're not using server-side rendering. Right now, what it's trying to do is trying to do server-side rendering, meaning that it's trying to look for a route in our backend that has a hash that has the add route, and then it's going to spit out that whatever we want it to spit out, right? But the problem is we don't have that router set in the back. We have it inside as a function. Obviously, this is a function. We have it set inside browser router, which is a function, which is not a function, but a component, which is JavaScript, which is client side. So it's looking for something in the back end that we do not have, and that's why we're getting cannot get / add, because we're trying to do it client side rendering. Like I said in the beginning, browser router takes advantage of the HTML5 API, history API, and that's the reason why it's not getting anywhere. Because Webpack, we configured Webpack to actually use it as a server. You know, it's acting like a server, like it should be acting. We need to tell Webpack, hey, we're not going to be doing this as a server kind of thing, where you look at the back end to find an actual route. We're going to be using the HTML5 history API, and for that we need to tell it, hey, use the history API. Okay, so right here in dev server, we do need to tell it another property. We do need to tell it, hey, use the history API. So it's called history API fallback. Okay, and by default it's set to false. We need to set this to true, not comma, not a comma. I mean, not a semicolon. Now, if you control save this now, we do need to rerun server, because we just changed it. It's gonna refresh over here, or it should. If it doesn't, we'll just do a manual refresh. All right, it didn't, so I'm gonna do a manual refresh. And what do we get? Oh, well, we do get our budget snob add, but we also get our budget snob home. Now, this is something that you might not be expecting, and let me actually tell you why it's happening. The reason why it's happening is because with route, it actually looks for path. It'll say, hey, let me look at this path. Does it have a forward slash? Let me see. It has a forward slash. Awesome. We're gonna render this component. Awesome. And then it goes to the next one. Does it have a forward slash add? It does. Awesome. We're gonna render out the budget add as well, which is this. That's where you're getting two components. And check it out. If I actually do something like test, hashtag test, it'll still give us this component because it's gonna say, hey, does it have a forward slash? Yes. Okay. Does it have a forward slash add? Yes. Okay. And it doesn't really care about the rest because these two are true. And so it's going to render out these things. Now, before I go on, let me actually explain to you what's happening with this history API fallback. What exactly is this? Well, it's literally going to fall back to the last history, which is once we refresh this. Oh, hold on. Let me get rid of this. And the add. You know how in the beginning when we had that slash add and we got a cannot get a 404? Well, it's going to do the exact same thing. So it's going to get the 404. Once we refresh it, it's going to get in the background, it's going to get the 404. So this history API, since we set it true, is going to say, okay, since we got the 404, let me re-render. Let me get the, where is it at? App.js. This, not the app, sorry. In public, let me get this index.html. And inside of index, we got the bundle.js, which is going to be the app.js, which is going to show out what route or what path should it show. I hope I explained that correctly or explained it where you understood it. So when it falls back, since it was an error of 404, it falls back to the history, which the history was just localhost 8080, which is index.html. And this index has bundle.js, which is the app.js, which is going to give us the forward slash and the forward slash add path. And this is going to, React is going to look at these and be like, okay, hey, yeah, this is a component. Let's just render that one out. But we're getting two, like I explained. The way we get around this situation is by having an extra attribute inside of our route. Inside here, we're going to have the attribute is called exact, and we want it to exactly match what we have right here. And it's a Boolean, so you're going to say true here. So once we save this, look at this. Slash add is only giving us one out because we want the exact path. Now, if I add another one, let's add another one for simplicity's sake. If I add another one that has dash add dash, I don't know, SDF, it's going to render these two if you do dash ADD because it's going to look for this and this. If you want to do exact, you could do exact on all these, but we're going to explain that in a different video. For now, we're going to just add another one called dash edit, and it's going to be budget edit, and we're going to render out a budget edit component. Budget Snob edit. Control save. Now if we do dash edit, we should get Budget Snob edit. Awesome. All right. That is it for this video. Let me actually recap what we just did because I think I went a little bit too fast on how or what's going on. So I'm going to talk a little bit slower from here on out in the next videos. But let me actually recap what I did. So in this video, we actually introduced a new module, React Router DOM, which is going to help us do client-side rendering instead of server-side rendering, okay? So with client-side rendering, it's pure functions. We're telling the client, hey, they're going to this URL, so run this function, basically. Okay? So we have Browser Router, which uses the HTML5 history API and the route, okay? So what we did was create routes inside of here, and each route has a path and a component that you want to render once this path exists. And that is basically all we did for this video, aside from Webpack config.js, where we added history API fallback, which is obviously going to give us a 404 if we get dash edit because it does run as a server still. So once you do dash edit in the backend, you do get a 404 because we don't have an actual server route for dash edit. So it's going to say, hey, well, the history API fallback was localhost 8080. So let's take out the HTML index, which is the index.html, and inside of here we got the script /bundle.js, which is our app.js, which again, here's our routes. It's gonna say, hey, what was the route they wanted? Oh yeah, the /edit. Here it is. Let's render out this component instead. And this is where you get Budget Snob Edit. Now, like I said, if we do remove this right here for now, Budget Snob Edit, you're not gonna see it. You're gonna get a 404. Cannot get /edit, obviously, because it's looking for that route. So enough about that. That's it for this video, guys. I do hope you learned something new right now. In the next videos, we are going to be setting up a 404 and actually linking between routes. Okay, so I look forward to, seeing, I guess you could look forward to the next video. I'm not sure what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to actually helping you guys out, learning more about React in the next video. So stay tuned, and I hope you actually do find my stuff kind of interesting. I did change the introduction a bit. Well, I changed it completely, but I hope you like it. If you don't, tell me something. I'm trying to make this stuff more entertaining for you guys. All right, that is it. I'm done. See you in the next video, guys. Bye.